Hi everyone, it's Vicky here from Crafty Heaven and thank you very much for joining me today. And today we're going to be making this window box card. This is not my original idea. I actually found this idea on Pinterest, but the lady had done it in centimeters and I don't do centimeters, I use inches. So I adapted mine to also use just A4 cardstock, and obviously I've changed it to inches instead of centimeters. If you want to see the lady's tutorial where she uses centimeters, then I'll put a link in the video description bar below and you can go and check that out on Pinterest. But also mine is slightly different. I have a larger lid where hers is quite small, but you can do it however you want. So this is my take on it. So as you can see, I have added this deer on the front. I think it's a deer or a baby deer, I don't know, but I'm calling it a deer anyway. And then we've got the beautiful Stampin' Up! Gingham ribbon on the front here. So I've added a bow, and then we've got the sentiment here. And this paper I used that I got out of a magazine, which I'll show you the magazine later on. And I didn't decorate the sides. You can if you want to, but I left them plain. So this lid lifts up like that to reveal this box inside, and also the card here where you can write your message. So as you can see, we have the box here with an opening to reveal a chocolate gingerbread man, and then we've got the sentiment here and a bow there, and there is the chocolate inside the box. So if you want to know how to make this, we are having 2 videos over the next 2 days. So the first part will be tonight, and then the second part will be tomorrow. So I really hope you enjoy this tutorial, and yeah, let's get started. I'm using the Creative Expressions Foundations card, and this is the colour Stone. Okay, so to make this project you will need 3 pieces of cardstock, and 2 pieces are going to be for your cover and your lid, because the lid is a part of the cover, and then your next piece is going to be for the box that's inside. So I have scored my pieces of card already, but I'll go through them with you in just a second. I'll have the measurements on the screen for you, and yeah, let's get started. First piece, now let me make sure I've got the right one here, is the 8 1/4 by 10 1/4. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that is correct. Yep. So the first piece is 8 1/4 by 10 1/4, and along the 8 1/4 inch side we will score it at 2 1/4 and 6 1/4, and then on the 10 1/4 inch side we will score it at 1/2 inch, 2 3/4 and 5 inches. Okay, like I said, I'll have the measurements on the screen for you. Then the next piece for the cover, you will need to cut this at 10 1/4 by 6 3/4, and along the 10 1/4 inch side we will score it at 1/2 inch, 2 3/4 and 5, and then along the 6 3/4 inch side we will score it at 1/2 inch and 4 1/2. Then for the box it's going to be inside, you will need to cut this to 8 inches by 8 7/8, and along the 8 inch side we will score it at 3/8 of an inch, 5 1/2 and 7 5/8. Along the 8 7/8 of an inch we will score at 3/8 of an inch, 2 1/2, 6 3/8 and 8 1/2. Okay, so then that's all the scoring done. What you do is you need to fold and burnish on your score lines, which I've already done, and you need to use your bone folder for that to give them a good crease. So we need to do some trimming. So I'm going to put the one that is for the box to one side for the minute, and we're going to trim our covers. Now these two pieces will get attached to one another to make one big piece. Okay, so now we need to do some trimming. So we're going to start off with our covers. So I have my two sections here, and I've marked where we need to cut it already, but we need to make sure that this smaller piece of the two, we have this 1/2 inch section here on the left hand side. You need to make sure that's on the left, but this piece is going to get attached to that 1/2 inch panel, so then it will be joined up like that, and then we've got a one big piece. Okay, so like I said, I've marked where we need to do some trimming. So we're going to start off on the right hand side on the smaller piece. So as you can see here, we have this really large rectangle. We're going to cut that off completely. Going to come to the top, and we have this small rectangle piece here. We're going to cut that off, and we have this small square in the left corner, and we're going to cut that off. So we're going to start off by cutting them, and then we can cut up these score lines here to make our tabs for the lid. So we're going to just cut up this score line here. Then we're going to come up to this one and cut this one off. And then we're going to cut this one off in the corner here. So that's what it's looking like. Okay. And then we need to cut up this score line here. So now we have these two tabs. This first one here, we need to give it a trim at an angle on either side, and then we also need to just cut it down like that. And then we're going to leave this one as it is. Then we're going to come to the other side. So we're going to be working on this 1/2 inch section here. And we're just going to be cutting up those score lines. Okay, so let me see if I can bring it in to show you. It's hard for me to see on the camera if I'm in view because of the light. I'm hoping I'm in view. So we'll start at the top here. So we've got this 1/2 inch section here on the top. Then we have these 3 1/2 inch panels on the left hand side, and then on the right hand side we have this 2 1/4 inch square here, and then we have the other 2 1/4 inch square, but we've cut that down and then we've trimmed it at an angle. So that's the first one. So we're going to come to this one. Okay, and we want to make sure that the 1/2 inch section is at the top. So we're going to grab my scissors and we're going to cut along this section and cut that one off. And then we're going to go all the way down here. So we've done our trimming now, and I've added some adhesive to certain parts of my cardstock. I will need to add some more, but I want to do that once this is all attached. So you'll see here on this larger piece that we've cut, you'll have these 2/4 inch squares here. Do not cut across those score lines yet until we've attached the two pieces together. Otherwise you'll end up cutting them off. But it's not a big deal because you could just attach those two pieces onto those 1/2 inch sections anyway. But I'm just saying it'd be easy if you just leave them as they are for now. Okay, so what we need to do now is, like I said, I've added adhesive to certain parts. So I've only added adhesive to this section here, and I've just folded over those 1/2 inch panels, and I've added adhesive on the outer part of those sections, and then along the top here we have the other 1/2 inch section, and I've added to the inside because this bit is going to get folded over just to make that edge nice and finished. Okay, then also on these tabs here, on the first one that we have cut, we have added adhesive to the outer side of that tab. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off the backing on my double-sided tape, and I'm only going to peel it off a little bit, so then I can attach my two pieces together much easier, and then when I think they're all lined up, then I can peel the backing off. So I'm going to turn my card over, and I'm going to try and get this in the camera so we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to start off along the bottom here, and I'm going to line up this edge here with the fold. Okay, so then our 1/2 inch tabs are going to be inside our box, and we can cover them up and you're not going to see it. So I'm going to make sure it's all level at the top and bottom, and then I can press it down and get a little bit of that stuck down, and once I'm happy I can peel off the rest like so. So that is now one big piece, and now we can go ahead and we can cut up those score lines to make our tabs for our lid. There we have our two other tabs. So we need to just trim this one down. So now we need to add adhesive on to this other tab here on the outside. So we're going to come to the 1/2 inch section at the top here, and we're going to peel off the backing, and we're just simply going to fold that over, and then that will finish off the lid nicely and give it a clean look. To distress my cardstock, and I'm using the Distress Ink old paper, and I'm just going to go along the outside and give it a bit of a distressed look on the edge. And you won't see this very well because this is going to be a light colour. I didn't want it to be too dark. I just wanted to give it a slight colour to the edge of my box so it blends in with my paper. So I've gone ahead and done that. So now we can start assembling the lid. So we need to peel off the backing of our double-sided tape on both sides, and we're going to just line up this edge here with the fold on here and attach them like so. Do the same on this side. And there we go. So that is the lid, and then this is the cover that will fold over like so, and then the lid will go over like that. Okay. So now we're going to cut our box, and as you can see I've marked the areas that we need to do some trimming. So this is what we are aiming for. Okay, so we're going to start off with the bottom of our box. I'm going to grab my scissors. So along the bottom here we have this 3/8 of an inch panel here, and then above that we have the square in the corners here with the rectangle in the middle. So this section here is going to be the bottom of our box. So along this 3/8 of an inch section here we have these rectangle here, and this tiny square in the corner, we're going to cut that section off completely. Also the rectangle running up alongside the box in this corner here, we're going to cut that off as well. Okay, then we're going to come to the other side and do exactly the same. So that's what it looks like, and then we're going to come up to these score lines here, and we're going to cut across there to make our tabs. So there we go. So that's the bottom section done. Now we're going to come to the top section. So I'm going to turn it around so I can see what I'm doing. And we have this 3/8 of an inch panel here. And again, we're going to cut these sections off here. There we go. That's what it now looks like when we've done some cutting. So we need to add some adhesive. So we need to add our tape to these tabs here, and we need to add them to the outer section, okay, because they're going to fold in like that. So we need to make sure that we add them to this section here. Then I've gone ahead and I've added my pattern paper to the front of my box, and for the paper I've used out of this Sentimentally Yours magazine, and it has some beautiful papers, as you can see, and we're using this one in today's project. So we're going to be using that to cover the outside of our cover as well. Then we need to cut out an opening on the front of your box, and I've gone ahead and done that. So what I did is I cut my patterned paper down to 3 3/4 by 5. Again, measurements will be on the screen for you at the beginning of this video, and I've stuck that down. And then I cut out a window using these dies here, and I'm not entirely sure what these are actually called, but I know that they are a Desire by Crafter's Companion, and they're like label dies, I guess. And I got these two here. I used the smallest one to cut out my window, and then I die cut both of them together to make a frame. And I used some mirror card that matches similar to the red on the paper, and that's going to get attached onto there. And then we're going to add some window or acetate sheet to the back here, and then we'll have our chocolate peeking through the window here. So that's how I did that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my frame first. There we go. So that's now added, and I'm going to peel off the backing on my double-sided tape, and we can put this box together, and then we'll add some acetate after that. So we're going to line up this edge with the fold here like we did on the other one. So we're going to place that together like so, and then on this side. Okay, and then these sections here at the back are going to line up together like that. But I also forgot that we need to add some adhesive to this top, and we need to fold that over like we did on the cover. So preferably do that before you assemble the box, but I forgot, but we could still do it. So, and again, it's just to make that section look nice and tidy. So in fact, I'm going to trim off the corners, and then I can fold it over. So there we go. So that finishes that top section nice and neat. And then these sections here, the 3/8 of an inch panels, this is what's going to be the area that will attach to our cover. Now we need to add our acetate. So I'm going to cut mine down to 3.5 inches wide by 4.5 inches in height. And I'm going to add some liquid glue onto that to make sure that it stays in place, and I'm going to attach it inside there. So I'm going to do that off camera and then I'll come. Okay, so there we go. So now I've added my acetate, and if you want to know the size of the opening, it is about 2.5 by 3.5. But you could use whatever dies you want. You could use circle dies, square dies, rectangle dies, whatever you want. And you can make it as little or as big as an opening as you want. That's why I didn't put the measurements for the opening at the beginning of the video. But yeah, that's the size of mine. So it's entirely up to you. So we're going to attach this now to our cover. So you want to make sure that you're going to attach it on this side where the lid is. And we're going to make sure that we line up the bottom of our box with the edge of the bottom of our cover. So then when we attach this and we fold this over and fold the lid over, it will stand up, because we've got the base of the box inside to use as the base for it to stand up. Hopefully that makes sense. So what we need to do is we need to add glue here to these sections there, and then we're going to place that on top, making sure that we've got it lined up along the bottom here, where that first fold is on here, and also here. You want to make sure that it's all lined up, and then you'll go ahead and stick that down. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then you want to leave that for probably a good half an hour or so to make sure that it's stuck down, and then we can carry on, and then we can add our card section here, and then we could decorate the outside of our box. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and I'll probably make this a two-part video, so I'll probably actually end the video here, and then we'll come back and do the rest tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and do all this first, and then we'll carry on. So I'll see you tomorrow.